Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us once again for the That Solo Life podcast, the podcast for solo entrepreneurs like myself, Michelle Kane with Voice Matters, and my fabulous co-host, Karen Swim of Words for Hire. We both work in the PR and integrated marketing worlds, and it's just our time to chat about, things relevant to working as a solo or new things happening out there in our professional worlds. Right, Karen?
That is absolutely right. Hello, Michelle. Hello, audience.
Hello. Yes. So we saw this week, there was an interesting article in Forbes that looks like it hit on Halloween, why you can't neglect your Google presence anymore. And it talked about a new concept, well, I don't know if it's new, but a concept called zero-click searches, which
Yeah.
essentially means that when someone is searching for either, maybe it's your business directly or something surrounding the type of work that you do or whatever they're searching for, people will, um, just get what they need from the search results and really not
hmm
even click through to your website or your whatever your online space is. So that was kind of interesting to me.
This is me all day long. So when I read it, I'm like, yep, this is true. This is how I live my life. I swear to you. Somebody says something on the phone, in person, I Google it, I read the
Yes,
snippet, and
you're
usually it
right.
answers my question. And if
You're
the
right.
snippet answers my question, I go no further. I got what I need. Like, okay, I'm good. And
Y-
so I completely see that. I mean, that is me. Maybe other
Yeah,
people, I used to be the person that would dig deeper, and I'm not that person anymore because I don't have time most of the time
right.
unless I'm doing, research for client work. But if I'm just looking for a quick answer, you
Yeah.
know, it I have found that convenient, and it never even occurred to me. I never even thought about it till we read this article. Like, oh yeah, I used to actually have to click to go somewhere, but it's so cool that the answer like is just right there. Boom, it's there.
Right, right. And it's interesting. Come to think of it, you're right. Especially using mobile, which according, and I'll put this in
Yes.
the show notes, this article from Forbes is stating that nearly 40 in the first quarter of 2019, nearly 49% of all United States Google searches ended without a click, and over 60% of mobile searches are zero-click searches. So, it speaks to a couple of things to make sure that you're doing. It can speak to the way you frame or prepare your Google ads to make sure that all the information's there. I know one of my clients is a car dealer, and we're working more to have, not just have we have the best this kind of car. No, have the deal. That's your ad header. Whatever the deal is, pay 269 a month
hmm
on this type of something. That's more inclined to get someone's attention. So it's both kind of cool to see that that's reinforced, and also just interesting as you're making your content plans moving forward.
I completely agree, and I think that means that we also have to work harder if there are things that you want people to click through to. You
Hmm.
have to tell a really good, tight, interesting enough story to get them to go, oh, wow, wait, I'd love to learn more
Right.
about that and want to click. And so,
Agreed.
we've all joked about the death of great writing and how people have these short attention spans, but I
Right.
believe that, and I agree, most people don't have time these days to read through 12 pages of content. And so we've seen, tighter content. However, I think that everybody wants to be wowed. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
be pulled in. There have been times that, I have turned, through to my news feed, and the snippet has been so fascinating. And I love that they even tell you, like, this is about a 15-minute read, that I don't care,
Yes.
because it's so interesting that it pulls me and it draws me, and I find myself reading the whole thing. And when the storytelling matches up, then I'm all in. And I'm
Yeah.
always glad that I took the time to just actually read that long form content. And so we have to remind people and remind professionals in how you guide your clients. It doesn't mean that everything has to be short, short, short. It
Right.
just has to be interesting. You have to tell a great story, and you want to tell a tight story. So you want to make it as tight as it needs to be, not make it, overly long. But I still, even in this day and age, wouldn't shy away from longer form content as long as the story is there.
Right. It does all go back to that we are wired for story, and brands
Yeah.
can certainly tell stories. And that also segues into the other item we wanted to talk about was the uh, Google BERT algorithm
Yes.
update.
Yes.
They were calling it the most important update in 5 years, but
Yeah.
it reinforces us writers that yes, good content, not only does it matter, it really matters, because now it will affect the more complicated search queries, and it's going to depend even more on context. So I am, it's amped up my personal thrillometer that we're getting even more away from the keyword gaming of, best this in X county, and it just
Yes.
clunks in the middle of a sentence, and you think, ugh.
Yeah.
So that was heartening news as well, and it it also helps you think again for your clients. Okay, we're going to tell our story. We need to tell it in this particular way. We need to make it interesting and relevant,
Yeah.
to the potential customers and current
Well,
customers.
and
Yeah.
so now we have AI, we have voice search, which
Yeah.
I also use a lot. And so you have to be conscious about using natural language. But here's the other dirty little secret.
Ooh.
There was also, I think it was that same article, yeah, that addressed how Google was also sucking up all of the search results, sending a lot of things to their own Google owned properties. So if you're
Yes, that's
only
true.
relying on search, you might want to think about, you know, changing your game. And I mean,
Mm,
as professionals, haven't we always known this? It's just a very, it's a reminder, and maybe for some it's a rude awakening that you really have to diversify your programs and make sure that you're using all of the spokes in the wheel. So you can't simply rely on search. You can't simply rely on earned media. You really have to have an integrated campaign where you have
right.
things working together, because one thing alone is not going to get you the results. And
Very true.
so, if there's a YouTube video, Google's going to point to their own property before they point to your website with a
True.
video.
True. They're going to
So
want to
what does
keep you
that
on their
mean? It means
ecosystem.
you need to be aware of how people search for the things that relate it to what you or your clients do. And you need to think about what channels need to be in place in order to support that search.
Exactly.
But I thought that was interesting. It's like, and I'm still not sure how I feel about this, but Google bought Fitbit, which I have been a Fitbit user since the
Yes.
beginning. And I'm like, so now I really do have to get an Apple Watch. I'm not sure that I like that. But anyway, that's a little sidebar.
Well, yeah, and I'm thinking, maybe I will dust off the Fitbit. What does that mean? It'll finally sync properly with my Pixel phone?
Oh,
Yeah, the
see?
Pixel's great for a lot of things, but there's that little percentage of, oh yeah, it's not compatible. Like, yeah, well, Samsung's looking pretty good.
Yeah, as we're talking about, Google, which really feels like it just controls a lot of stuff.
Mm,
I believe that an even bigger trend in 2020 will be that these ecosystems, right? Like these
yeah.
big players that own everything are setting up their ecosystems to lock you completely into
Yeah.
their world. And we've seen
Mhm.
that. We've already seen that. So it's not like it's
Right.
a brand new trend, but I think that they're going to spread their tentacles even further. So,
Right. Further
for years
solidify.
there's been like the Apple versus Amazon, like, do I
Right.
want all my stuff over here in Apple world? Do I want it in Amazon world? Google is broadening their base. Before I used to think of them only in terms of content and not in things that reached outside of the internet. But of course they
Right.
have a phone, and now they have the home, the smart home products. And so those are kind of things that, seemingly it wouldn't affect our work, but in many ways it does impact our work as communicators, as we
Right.
have these giant ecosystems and we have these programs and tactics that we manage for clients. Do you choose an ecosystem? Do you cross across them? I think that you have
Right.
to be aware of
Right.
what people are using and how it syncs and all of that.
Right. I mean, that's just it. You want to be where any of your prospects or current customers
Yeah.
are. So, yeah, we have to be aware. Yeah, it's funny. I was in Philly yesterday for a couple of things, and even walking by the Apple store, I spied, the Apple credit card, and that very thought came to mind. I'm like, oh, you just want people to live in Appleville, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, think about the companies that have apps and have technology products. And we all
Right.
know, things that only work on mobile for iPhone, or
Right.
it really works better on Android. And so,
Right. Right.
it can make things a little more complicated for us as we create, because it does add a little bit to the development cost too for our clients. So that's a
Right.
consideration.
Exactly.
Do you pick
Yes.
a lane and live in that lane, or do you cross the lane
Right.
and
Right.
pray that you don't get hit by oncoming traffic? I mean,
Yeah, it was a true learning experience for me when I once had a client and we developed our own app, and then I certainly realized quickly why everything hit Apple so fast is because they had a very regimented process, but you sped through it, whereas the Android process took a little longer, even because they had to make sure
Mhm.
it worked on the myriad of Android phones, all the mobile devices. So, that made me understand why I had to wait for my things. Um, so
Wow.
so yeah, it's a lot of knowledge we're throwing at you this week, but it was just things that popped up for us, and we thought we'd hop in for a quick
Yeah.
update on these fronts. And what heartens me though is that it still all comes back to basics. You still want to be telling the
Yeah.
right story to the right people. It's just where and how that we always have to be developing, and we always have to keep our eye on what is the next thing on the horizon. So if we are
Absolutely.
of any benefit to you on that front, please share our podcast, subscribe, spread the word. Our goal is to educate, inform, and have some fun along the way. So if that's what you're into, then please share that solo life with your circle. Thanks for spending another week with us. Karen and I will be back with some. Well, I don't know. We'll be back with something next time, right?
We will.
We'll figure that out. We'll figure it out, but hopefully it'll be good stuff. So until next time, thank you for listening.
Thank you.